Welcome everyone, we're here live for the F3 Championship for the Formula I season, and we're here in Suzuka, Japan, the land of the rising sun, at a fantastic facility. The Honda Test Track has put on some fantastic racing for the Japanese Grand Prix, which will be coming up in a little bit for the Formula I Formula 1 Championship. But we're here with F3, the feeder series for the F1 Championship, and looking forward to some excellent racing as we've seen in the first two opening rounds, both in the US and at Brazil. My name is Finney Nakuna here with Connor Horn, and Connor, I think we're looking forward to some fantastic open wheel action.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I mean, I'm already excited watching qualifying. There's already a bunch of people going off, a lot of people struggling with a couple of these turns. I'm excited to see a lot of great racing. I'm excited to see how these drivers pass today.
Absolutely, and Suzuka can be a bit tricky in some places to pass, especially we talk about the S's here. Very tricky section when you're looking at Pavel Okogretsky. We actually have a little note about Pavel in the 17 cars. He's navigating through the S's right now. Qualifying underway, 2.5 minutes remaining. You can see Luke Barton already sitting on provisional pole after a fantastic job last week at Brazil. Ended up winning that race. That was his first start of the season, looking to start on pole for this race, as well as Okogretsky works through the S's. Fantastic set of corners, you have to say.
Yeah, it's definitely a fantastic set of corners, but it's also a set of corners that you can't afford to mess up whatsoever. One little slip up and you're going off, and you're probably going into a barrier. Your race is probably done. This track is so precise, but that's what makes it absolutely legendary to drive.
Yeah, and I was just saying, I have a bit of a note about Pavel Okogretsky coming into this round. Chris Lees from Simforce Racing and Patrick Broda from Team Frontline have both had to pull out of the championship. Unfortunate to hear that. With that being said, Pavel Okogretsky, he's actually joined Atish Davising at Team Frontline, and Simforce Racing has been dissolved as they run. So we got these guys sorted out, with Pavel now joining, and he's been pretty good, been finishing up near the front of the field. Also just noticed, forgot to make a small correction. We'll be right back in a few seconds. Alright, said it was a few seconds, and we're back here, and actually, as soon as we left, we find Sam Coutert in the 28 car. But I want to say it's a new driver. I don't remember hearing his name earlier in the first two rounds, but is running really well. Obviously, up in first, beat Barton by 52 hundredths of a second, or 52 thousandths of a second.
Pretty nice lap. He's at the bottom of the standings, I believe. He might not have ran a race. I'm not completely sure, but obviously a really good showing so far to be top of the boards.
Yeah, actually, I think, he has not run a race, because he's actually teammates with Sebastian Jackson, who actually is not here, and Jackson is showing up for the other event, so both those guys teammates and have not yet to, I think, start a race together. Yanni Mikila and also looking at Juho Peltomaki, these drivers have been dominating the F3 Championship so far, leading the points not only in the Drivers' Championship, 1-2 for them, but also in the team standings. FPH Racing looking pretty strong, but looking to see that slowly get overturned here, with Luke Barton showing a phenomenal pace here.
Showed incredible pace in the last round at Brazil. I mean, he's got big things coming for him, I think, this season. As long as he doesn't make too many mistakes, I think he's definitely one of the main guys for the championship, but he's got to get through two teammates to do so.
Yeah, and Connor, I know you're somewhat familiar with the Suzuka Circuit and the F1 games, and while it quite isn't, iRacing, what do you feel you have to do to have a good lap around Suzuka?
It's really difficult, because you pretty much have to be precise pretty much everywhere, but I feel like the first sector is really key with the S's, the left, right, so you have to be absolutely perfect, and then get out to the next couple of turns after that. You have the bit of the hairpin before the big spoon. I mean, that first sector, I think, is really crucial to a fast lap here.
Talk about spoon here, as we see Peltomaki, he's coming through. I believe this is on a flying lap for the 82 car. Working his way on through spoon, and then we also have to talk about, I haven't mentioned it yet, but 130R, one of the most famous corners around this track. Corner that's been reconfigured after Alec Manish had a really horrible accident in the early 2000s. They had to reprofile this corner, make it a little bit safer for the drivers, but it's still blindingly fast. Pretty easy to take in an F3 car, but F1, oh boy.
pretty easy to take in one of these cars, but you have to be careful of the curb on the inside. If you hit that too hard, you're going to go spinning in front of the whole pack, and it could cause another huge crash.
See, Peltomaki's coming across the line for him. It'll be a 151.9 last time through. Not going to be good enough to beat his previous time, and he'll have to settle for 4th place. And it's actually Yanni McKilla that will qualify ahead. I think it's the first time this season that McKilla has qualified ahead of his teammate Peltomaki. And looking here, I think for the most part, everyone has put a time down. Scott Hensley's come across the line. In his 33 machine has not been able to put a time down, but we got 15 guys qualified out in the grid set here, and a little bit to go racing in an F3 car. We got 30 minutes of action here lined up at Suzuka for the F3 race, and some track facts about Suzuka. Constructed all the way back in 1962, again, as a Honda test track. There's actually a Honda factory you can see in iRacing just a little bit ways, actually behind the camera at the moment. Suzuka, Japan, home to 200,000 residents. In this part of the track, though, you can see not many houses around the circuit itself. 17 turns around Suzuka. Most of them, I would say, in the S is constantly going left, right, left again. Very tricky for a lot of the drivers to navigate. And Suzuka, one of only 2 FIA Grade 1 tracks to cross over itself with a bridge. I forgot the other track. It's, I think, a track in Portugal or Italy.
Now, is it?
I think it was that circuit that you said. No, actually, no. I'm trying to remember because me and Kyle were talking about this.
I need to read up on my Portuguese tracks, I think.
Yeah, it's a weird track. It's not one that you would think or would know of. And you can see there the track temp being pretty cool for these drivers here. As we get to gridding, we don't have a whole lot of time, so we'll flash up the starting grid here. And you can see there we got Sam Coutert is starting in 1st place, Luke Barton in 2nd, and then you got the MPH Racing guys 3rd and 4th. Vincent Olivier Barron starting in 5th, John Watson in 6th place.
Go through the rest of the field here. We got Brandon Fiorante in P8, Jacob Toffs P9, Danny O'Keefe rounding out the top 10. A lot of these guys, these times are right on top of each other. They had really not too spread out within the top 10, a bit more spread out when you get outside the top 10, but a lot of competitive times put down.
Yeah, we see also here the back part of the grid as well, 13 through 18 there lined up here. We'll take the graphic away here because we're getting ready to start. No pace lap for these guys, straight up starting from the grid here. Imagine the anticipation here, especially heading to turn 1, which is very tricky. You have to be careful in the start.
Yeah, it's really hard to go like too wide there, let alone just only one car fitting in there with, you know, how fast that right-hander can feel, and you almost feel like you drift too farther out than you want to go. You really have to be careful if there's someone on your left or even your right. We might see a lot of early drama here.
And then you see the red lights are on here. The driver's getting on the throttle, getting ready, revving the engines. And the lights are out. And here we go at Suzuka, heading down to turn 1. Already some 3-wide action. A very poor start for the leaders. 3 wide up in front into turn 1.
Really good start from John right there. He couldn't get anywhere to the lead, though. I think everyone's trying to sort it out cleanly. It's Luke Barton out and away for the lead for so far.
Yeah, and actually fairly clean start for everyone else, already getting out double file. Good to see from these drivers here, but as you're saying, Luke Barton up in front, taking away lead from Sam Cooter, who had a fairly poor start by comparison.
Yeah, just wasn't a good start, wasn't able to get off the line, and now he's going to have trouble passing at some point. He's going to have to really try to stay right behind him here. Hopefully he can get a draft up the long straight.
Yeah, now into the tricky corner right here. Very tight right-hander into Degner here for the first time. This has been a very tricky section. Oh, you see a car going flying off on the grass. It's Colin Black in his 22 machine into the barrier as well. Looks like the car is not too damaged. He'll be able to continue on. Into the hairpin they go for our leaders, though. Already single file.
Yeah, and Colin Black's actually crashed. No, we got a pile up in the hairpin there. A couple of people turned around. Scott Hensley's in there as Daniel Floria is there as well. A 3-car incident there.
He's Davising involved in that as well. We'll take a quick look at it. I think it was Floria that had a poor run out of Degner. And it was this run to the hairpin. I think that was Floria. He ended up getting into Hensley and knocking him out sideways. But we'll go quickly back live here as the field heading down to 130R for the first time.
Yeah, it's got to be really careful with that curve there. Can't hit it too hard. Everyone seemed to get pretty good run through there, though, as they're all pretty much trying to single file out. The top 4, 5, or 6 single file all in a line packed up with each other.
Yeah, now this is what we're talking about, especially with the F3 car. The amount of draft, the amount of slipstream, it's going to help you quite a bit here heading into turn 1, don't you think?
I think so, especially in these F3 cars. It's going to be so key to have that sort of, speed down the straightaway behind someone. You just slingshot right by him like you're at an oval at Talladega or Daytona in America or something like that.
And so far, looking at a top 5 breakaway, looking at Vincent Olivier Barron, not a particularly good start to his season. He's done decently, finished on the podium, 3rd spot on the podium back at Wisconsin for the U.S. Race at Road America. And running pretty well inside the top 5 here. He's looking for some more. Definitely has some pace. I think he's been lacking the consistency, but running really solidly up in 4th place and got the leaders in sight.
Yeah, P3 is obviously a good result, but to win this championship, you kind of got to do that every race, and then some. You kind of have to even finish top 2 probably to beat the guys in front of him. He's got to really hammer down here the next couple of races in this stretch.
Ooh, as you see Peltomaki a little bit wide out of the hairpin, not a good enough run. And that hairpin is such a tricky corner because you can almost run it a little bit wide to get a run off, but I don't know. What line do you think is better? Do you think it's better to keep it to the apex, or do you think it's better to run out wide?
I think I like keeping it to the apex, but it's really hard to get it dialed in to the apex. It's just, the car just really wants to lock up, as we see. Luke Barton actually went wide there. The lead goes to Sam Kiter. Excuse me if I mispronounced that, but a big lock up there. And it's really hard to get into that corner because of how it just wants to lock up, because it kind of goes a little bit downhill because of how banked it is. It's just a very awkward corner.
Up and here we go, talking about the slipstream. Here's Barton back on Cooter down the inside into 130R. We'll get it done. Can't quite force Cooter off the track, or at least keep him in behind. We'll get it done so by the chicane. Fantastic move there. And we'll see if he can hold up now. Here's the run down the front straightaway. That 28 still very close in behind.
Yeah, Luke might have just wanted to wait until this stretch so he could probably get the run back for the narrow part of a track. But Kiter's going to go to the inside. No room there. He's going to make her almost into the grass into turn 1.
And a fantastic move there. They're going to...
might have been made. Then he's got the lead back.
Banging side pods together, heading through turn 1. Fantastic stuff. Out in the front, in behind. It looks like Peltomaki's going to move himself or keep himself up into 3rd place as Olivier Barron was trying to get the pass done. Couldn't quite get it done for that 3rd place spot on the podium. But how about that exchange? We're far from over for the lead here. Barton definitely wants it.
Yeah, we're only 5 minutes in. We're racing like that. That was a daring move. Sort of like a Barrichello on Schumacher at Hungary with the squeeze there, but it wasn't really a squeeze by Barton. Sam Kiter just kind of made room that wasn't really there.
And now for Barron, I'm curious. Barton, I'm curious what he's got in store here now after witnessing, the slipstream. Do you think now he's learned that maybe it's better to wait for turn 1, or do you think it's better for him to try to make it into 130R?
I think it is better for him to wait to turn 1. 130R, it's a risky corner to pass to begin with. It was very close to, being catastrophe in that corner, and then obviously he got the lead taken away from him with a daring move. I think it would be smart for him to just wait for that front stretch.
Looking a little bit further back in the field for just a second, Jacob Toff's teammate to Luke Barton. Has not been a particularly good start or run for Toff. Started up in 9th, has fallen all the way back to 12th, and I'm sure his teammates going to want him to pick up the pace because he's doing a lot of the work at the moment, and especially because these guys, this team, SimSport News, has got a really solid shot of getting back in to the fight for the Constructors' Championship, especially with the performance that Barton's been putting on here. Wasn't able to quite get by Cooter heading down into the chicane, but we'll see if he's got anything down the straightaway.
I don't think he's close enough to get any sort of run. You see Cooter kind of breaking the draft there like you would at the Indy 500, trying to make sure that Luke Barton doesn't get any sort of run on him. Barton got a really bad run out of that final chicane. I think Cooter might be able to really stretch this out.
And also, Yanni McKilla in behind. He's gotten around Vincent Olivier Barron for 4th place to move MPH Racing up 3rd and 4th. These guys have been dominating the first 2 rounds. It's kind of surprising to see neither one of these drivers in the lead, or at least on the top 2 steps of the podium for these drivers. But Peltomaki trying to run his way back to back to Barton. I'm curious now to see if this becomes a true 4-horse fight. He's got a little bit of time to make up.
Yeah, he's got to get there first. Barton's still a ways out there where the draft wouldn't really help Peltomaki enough to get to him. It might take him a couple laps, but right now, at least for the top 5 spots are pretty much short as who's going to be in them. It's just a matter of where they finish, because the top 5 they've flown away from the rest of the field.
Zach Booth in behind had a bit of an off here, heading out of the S's. Ooh, just got too much grass and nailed the cones.
Those poor cones. You hate to see it.
Whoa! And someone almost came flying into him. Wow.
Okay, it's a wake-up call.
Yeah, that's not typically considered a blind corner. Definitely can in situations like that when you got a car sitting on the track.
Yeah. Man. These top 5 are all over each other. There's really nothing separating these top 5. Pretty evenly spread apart for the most part.
Yeah, and nothing else really to note of throughout the rest of the field. Those drivers pretty much separated out. There's really this essentially 5-way battle for the lead. This leading pack all within 3 seconds of each other. That's 5 cars over that spread of time. They're starting to slowly spread themselves out here. And Peltomaki, he might be losing. Do you think he's close enough for that slipstream? He might be just out of range.
I don't think he might still have it, but it's definitely not as effective as it could be if he was a little bit closer. Really, nothing he can do. He's just got to do better in these technical sectors right now to get back to Luke Barton.
Yeah, you can see there the difference between Peltomaki and Barton. He actually lost almost 0.2 of a second last time through over the last lap, and we'll see if you can try to make that up. But once you really start to get past out of into 1.5 seconds behind, you're definitely getting next to no slipstream to help you out.
Really need to be almost like less than half a second behind to make that slipstream really do something. As with all these top 5 kind of spreading out, Sam Cooter trying to spread himself out for pretty much everyone. A 51.9 last lap. It was 0.3 faster than Luke Barton. He's really trying to set a really fast pace here. These top 2 are kind of pulling away from the teammates.
Yeah, Cooter with a sub 152, as you were saying, really fast pace. That was his fastest lap of the race last time through, and considering that lap was actually also clean as well. Barton said at 152 that was his fastest lap, but technically not, because it was a bit dirty. Went a little bit off track.
Yeah, just a little bit to say the least. Yeah, he's gonna have to try to find something or hope that the leader makes a mistake, because he really can't. It doesn't seem like he has the pace to keep up with him.
I think Januszkowski's in the 0-2, I think he had a bit of an issue. Oh no, this is just some action going on to the hairpin.
Yeah, but it's side by side there, really spread out there. Is this the battle for the points? No, it's not. Jacob Toffs is 10th, I believe. This is 11th.
Toffs, we saw him fighting with, I think that was with Booth earlier. And he's now moving himself just inside the points into 10th place, as you mentioned. Back up to the front. Cooter, he's extending that lead.
And see how much he extended by that. I think he set another fastest lap. Yes, he did. A 51.7. 0.4 faster than Luke Barton.
See the difference right on screen there. So Barton actually starting to drift further and further back into Peltomaki's hands, and we could have ourselves a battle for second place as Cooter driving off into the distance, which is interesting. So Barton showed up last week for his first start of the season, won the race. Cooter, if I'm very certain, he showed up for his first start of the season and looking to win this race.
Yeah, he's looking really strong right now. He's got work to do though, but another strong showing for sure. And I don't think he's drifting to the teammates back that much. He was 0.2 faster than Peltomaki, and then 0.4 faster than his teammate in behind. And then Vincent Oliver Barron's just kind of hanging there. They're all kind of evenly spread out by a few tenths, so they're kind of evenly spreading out along the top 5.
Talking about Pavel Kogretsky, again, the colors on the left side are a bit incorrect, because we just recently got that news that Kogretsky has moved over to his new team front line. So we'll get that adjusted for next week, but having a solid run by himself in 6th place is pretty much all by his lonesome. He's too far back and too far ahead of some of the other guys. Started in 7th, up into 6th.
Yeah, good run so far. I just actually took notice. John Watson, I think he was 9th. He kind of went off track, so he's back to 10th, I believe, at the least. He had a bit of a off-road sequence there.
We'll quickly take a look at it. Not been a particularly good race for Watson.
He's still barely in the points, though. He can salvage something out of it.
Where did he go off?
It might have been one of the S's. I couldn't quite tell.
Oh, okay. It's further back then. But yeah, he's currently back in 10th. With that, you can see that Jacob Toss moved up in 9th after looking at him in 10th place earlier. So the other guy's still pretty spread out in the back, still looking up in the front, closest battle on the track. As we were talking about, the passing are pretty hard, except for the straightaways. You're probably not going to make a pass in the S's, I don't think.
I wouldn't try one, that's for sure. You kind of just gotta hope they're going fast enough that you don't just have to barrel down on them, really.
Still having a bit of internet issue there.
The teammates are still pretty close, but Peltomaki's just got a little bit more pace. But at the same time, he wasn't faster than Luke Barton, but actually last time by about 0.2 faster. So if he can keep doing that, he might have a shot at him soon.
Yeah, and this is the thing too, especially with the teammate. So if you're in Makila's position, do you want to work with your teammate to try to catch the second place guy up ahead, or are you just gonna say, yeah, forget it, and just try to make a pass on him here, get every spot you can get?
We're about halfway in this race. He's not making a lot of time on Barton, but he is making time. I don't know.
Oh!
No, he's off.
Peltomaki, a big mistake. That's our points leader.
Wow. He played himself right out of a podium spot with that.
Yeah, and that's really going to hurt him here. Well, not too terribly much. He was still able to get the car back in the right direction, but definitely going to fall outside of the podium, as you were saying. He's going to be pretty far back. It's going to be tough to make that up. But see what happened. This was through Spoon.
He just got too far on the curb in the middle of the Spoon right there. Just got the tires all up on the curb.
Ah, yeah. And around he went.
Did a good job keeping it going, at least.
Right on board with Peltomaki as is coming into Spoon. And again, not too terribly tricky in these cars. You got a lot of downforce to work with, but you gotta watch the curbs because they are slippery, and around he went. You can see that's all it took.
Meanwhile, with that, he lost a teammate there, and now the battle for the podium is heating up. Vincent Oliver Barron is all over him.
We're talking about, again, the S's being a very tricky part of the track to, try to make a move on someone. So for Barron, I think he can pretty much just sit and watch through this first sector, unless he can really get a leg up here. Whoa, you see him go out wide.
He's really trying to drive it, that's for sure.
Lost that for a second with Killa having some internet issue, and you see him. Oh man, he did a great job saving it. He could have definitely had it a lot worse, like we saw with Booth earlier. He went off in the S's.
Yep, that would have pretty much sealed the podium. A good job keeping it straight, but all that time he was all over him for the podium, and now he's got to gain it all back.
Yeah, still well within the range to get at least a little bit of it, so he's actually kind of starting to fall out of it now. Did not get a particularly good run out of the hairpin, but our lead is starting to separate out just a little bit. Looking back up at Barton and Kuter, this might not be quite over just yet. Barton stopped losing some time. He actually made up time last time by 0.06 of a second he gained on Kuter.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a gain, but he's got to gain a lot more. All the tenths that he lost in the last couple laps, he's pretty much got to gain it right back, and I don't know if he can.
Also, you see these guys heading through the chicane. We noticed something pretty interesting in practice. Actually, they kind of stopped doing it. We were talking about them on the entry curve. Some of the guys were just... Actually, there you see Makila and Barron kind of do it, where they just kind of throw the car over the curb, but some of these guys actually taking it more, a lot more normally, and you can see them kind of actually avoiding the curb, which is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, maybe they're just trying to do it for a hot lap, because maybe the damage will build up because it's a hot lap. I'm not sure, but we saw a lot of people absolutely killing that entry curb. Yeah,
I think some people in qualifying took it a lot more aggressively, because as they were saying, you don't have to truly worry about damage. And I think even in the race too, for at least the way iRacing models it, the floor, you don't have to worry too much about it over a curb like that. Real life, you will absolutely destroy the car.
Yeah. At least even in the F1 games, you don't really care about floor damage.
No, I'm really hoping they add that at some point, because
someone's got to add it.
Right? Because
do it first.
I
shouldn't have to get on like BeamNG Drive for that.
Yeah,
because they at least have actual damage, soft body physics and stuff.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm really hoping that since the next the next generation of consoles, I'm really hoping they add a proper damage model, because it's a bit unfortunate that we can only damage the wheels on the car and the front wing. We can't even damage the rear wing.
Yeah, unless it just goes off by itself. I can't wait. We still have probably papier-mâché damage physics somehow on next gen. They just fold like tinfoil or something. It just kind of fold over at somewhere on the car.
Yeah, Going back to the action here, 13 and a half minutes left in this 30-minute shootout for the F3 Championship here. You're looking at the lead battle between Sam Couture and Luke Barton. Sorry, he's not quite, as you're saying, he's kind of lost. He lost some time last time through. See, they're actually gained some time. Read that wrong.
5/1000ths, yeah.
I mean, it's effectively nothing. 6,000th of a second.
Definitely nothing, but
that's like an
at
inch.
Least maybe he's thinking Cooter. Oh, maybe Cooter might be wearing his tires out. You never really know. A 52.1 there, and Luke Barton actually a bit slower there by a couple hundredths. Without a mistake, I think it's already over.
Yeah, and definitely a mistake is still on the table. We saw that with Io Peltomaki, which I'm really surprised he made that mistake, because he's put himself as a very solid driver. Almost mistake-free for him, actually, as you look up ahead, some lap car action separating. I believe that is
Scott Hensley.
Yes, that is Scott Hensley. Back in 15th, a lap down. It's not been a good... actually, he moved up from 19 to 15, but I'm sure with him being a lap down, something definitely happened to him.
He kind of held up Oliver Barron there a little bit, but he gets out of the way after that set of corners there. And Oliver Barron, he was all over it for the podium. Ooh, really hit the curve hard there, but he was there for the podium. It just doesn't seem like he can get back up there after his mistake.
Yeah, especially after being held up by almost a second through the S. It's probably the worst part of the track to be held up by a lap car.
You have nowhere to go in those S's. You're pretty much stuck there, hoping that he just doesn't check up enough.
You're gonna be very much like Sebastian Vettel. No, unfortunately, no blue flags, no mandatory blue flags in iRacing.
Hey, probably, it's kind of just gentleman's rules at that point.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's yelling at Scott, you know, you're a lap down, you're 30 seconds behind the next car, you know, please move out of the way.
Yeah, I don't know how they enforce that here, but definitely a bit, you kind of, in open wheel racing, you kind of just have to let him go. You can't hold him up for long at all.
Yeah, from what I've seen, I don't think there's any rule as far as letting a car go, as long as you're not, you know, completely holding them up. If it's just like normal, just lead car stuck behind a lap car, you know, it's kind of just, you know, shrug your shoulders. Hope the guy moves.
Yeah, pretty much hope so. I mean, I guess you can't blame Hensley for it. I mean, it's the S's. Where are you gonna go? It's literally one lane, really.
If you move off, you're very much gonna have a shot of going off the track, which none of these drivers want.
He's already been off in those S's, so I think he's done with that.
One time is definitely, I can imagine, enough. Can't wait to see the F1 cars out here, because those things fly. It's kind of amazing. This is really one of those tracks that really shows you the amount of downforce in an F1 car. And it's unfortunate we were just talking about this before the broadcast, that we don't have the newer F1 cars that have significantly more downforce than their...
Oh, Hensley, sorry, Hensley went off again. His S's are not his friend.
Struggle here. Poor Hensley.
Stopping here, he's staying. I think he might be parking it, you never know.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him for parking it. He's got 38 seconds to the next driver up the road. He's out of the points in 15th.
Yeah, I think he was just staying out of the way for O'Keefe.
He had a lot of understeer. It was a little bit behind. He was following I think Peltomaki there, but you could see the understeer he had, and you still have to account for that in these cars. Yeah,
that's a big problem in these cars, because obviously, say you drive an F1 car, then you go to an F3 car, you're not expecting it to just not turn. He's like I said, he's been off in the S's at least 2 times today. He's just struggling with it with the car in these set of corners.
You know, I mentioned Danny O'Keefe having a pretty quiet day. He started in 10th, moved further inside the top 10 to give himself some solid points in 7th. It's not quite over yet, because he's catching up to the guy ahead of him. Catching up to Pavel Kogretsky. He actually lost some time that time through, but is well within range of fighting his way back up.
And the battle for P, yeah, we got a couple battles to still look at today in this race. Obviously, the battle for 4th with Oliver Barron, because he's actually getting caught by Peltomaki a little bit. See, Peltomaki might be able to get there. We'll see. And obviously, the battle for 6th as well. Keep points in the top 10 here, still at bay. Yeah,
actually, I think Peltomaki's got a really good shot of catching up to Barron. Definitely is the faster of the 2 cars. And as he comes across the line last time through, you can see he made up only 600ths of a second. Not a lot of big gains for these guys. That just, I think, really just shows you how competitive the field is.
Yeah, pretty much everyone's on top of each other right now. All the times are very similar. And then you got Sam Cooter pretty much dogging the rest of the field. He's pulled away, I think, about over 2 seconds over Luke Barton. Barton he really just doesn't have the pace for it, race-winning speed here. The top 3 pretty much set right now.
Yeah, and I think for Barton, we will see him back off the pace. Last time through ran 5/10 a second slower than Couturier. I think this is him just kind of showing the white flag of surrender, not the final lap. I think he's
waiting for the white flag, maybe.
Yeah, so I think he's kind of accepted he's going to probably finish in second. No point in forcing the car off the track because again, solid points for him.
It's still a good run, nothing to be mad about. Just gotta maybe figure out what he's got to do. He's got to practice more, practice harder to get to that top step of the podium another time. It's all about practice.
Yeah, and this is an interesting thing too because this is the first time, at least this season, that these two drivers are racing each other. Because again, Couturier wasn't present from our knowledge from the last 2 rounds. It's kind of showed up, so I think Luke Barton probably showed up today thinking he was going to win the race, and he would have been. It wasn't for Sam Couturier showing some really solid pace.
It's a really key run for Cooter. It's his first race, yes, and he hasn't gotten any points, but a win and probably fastest lap, it's going to shoot him right to the top 5 in points, and another run like that, and he will be in the points battle immediately.
And also bring his team, Volante Racing, they have 10 points to their name. That's going to double that. Yeah, more than double that here coming out of Suzuka. I believe he's also got the point for fastest lap as well, which is also given in this series.
Trying to check. I think the battle for 5th isn't really here. The battle for 5th isn't really there. It's still Danny O'Keefe trying to chase down for P6. He's a bit slower last lap though. Actually, did Keefe get overtaken for 6th? I don't remember. I think he was 7th.
No. He was in 7th. He's chasing Pavel Kogrecki.
Yeah. He lost a lot of time that last lap, so I don't know if that's gonna work.
Yeah, lost 4/10 of a second. That's not what he needs to do, especially considering how little time, I should say, we have remaining left in the race. Just over 6 minutes to go here. So this battle is starting to wind down up ahead. Even Peltomaki's kind of back down. We're starting to actually kind of see that bubble. It seems once you get to a second and a half in behind, that the arrow wash starts to get pretty significant. We haven't really, we've seen it be pretty hard for guys to close in further.
Yeah, it just seems like once the bubble's there, it's pretty much there for the rest of the race, and everyone's pretty much stagnant. Trying to see at least one more battle that might be heating up. John Watson, I don't know if he went off in the S's or what the last lap, but it was 156, so he went off somewhere, and Zach Booth is trying to chase him down for an extra point.
Yeah, he's been struggling to keep the car, and he managed to drive himself. We saw him outside of the top 10 again, start up in 6th. He's driven his way back inside into 9th, but Zach Booth, who had it off early, he's trying to change that. And for Booth, from 17th to 10th, a really solid climb forward into the points.
It was unfortunate he just didn't put a lap down. If he put a lap down, maybe he could have been up there, maybe fighting for a top 5. Definitely would have been higher up the field for sure in his little Red Bull machine, the #1 car, but he's definitely looking like he's got the pace over Watson.
Wow, Watson, big twitch here heading down the back straightaway, and as he was struggling to come out of spoon, Booth, a massive run here into 130R. You have to take it when it's given to you.
Yeah, I think Watson might have damage from when he went off or something. Just didn't, I don't know. Oh, he's in the grass. You got to be careful there. I don't know. It just didn't seem like he had any pace going down the straightaway there, and he's got no choice but to give up P9.
Solid pass from Zach Booth, gonna swap these two around. Booth into 9th place. I think he might have to settle for here. He's got 15 seconds to the next guy up the road. Now this is gonna be a matter of holding off Watson, the 14 and behind. And again, as they come into the front straightaway, Watson gonna have a bit of tow to work with. Not sure if it's enough for a pass.
I don't think he's close enough to even look. Yeah, he just stays in line. He's probably gonna hope for a mistake from Booth. I just don't think he can really hold on at this point. But he's definitely got, as long as he stays on the track, he's got 1 point locked up.
Oh no! Hiro Peltomaki, the car destroyed out of Degner.
Wow!
Oh man, and that's going to be big in the points. Our points leader having more issue here. As this
Where did that come from? Wow, he just overcorrected in the right-hander, I think. That is a huge mistake to make in a race when you're pretty much racing for nothing. Wow.
Yeah, and we were talking about it with Barton here. You know, he's backing off, coasting the car to solid points finish. Was running 4th at the time of the accident, right behind his teammate up ahead. See here through Degner. Since it didn't too big, the back end came around. He tried overcorrecting hard into the tire barriers.
That's dreadful. Oh man, he probably should have just throttled up and not overcorrected. Tried to spin the car out away from the barrier. But obviously, as a race car driver, you try to save the car. You never stop driving it. Just bit him there. That is a huge blow. And one person who's celebrating that is Enzo, who's in 11th. He's going to be in the points for that. We actually might see a battle for that final point now, because I think Martinez is right behind him now, so that will be for the final point now.
Yeah, he's he's the thing, he should be clear. He's got 10 seconds back to Janis Sigauskas, who you can see now finally entering through Spoon. So I would say he's got that point locked up as long as he can just make it back to the finish line. But whoa, you see Janis Sigauskas a little bit sideways out of Spoon.
Yeah, very sideways there. As another battle that's still heating up, but John Watson's staying with him. I don't think he's close enough to the toe to bring him down into turn 1 to have a chance, but they're still there with a still a definite battle there. Watson he has a decent run. I just don't think he can get close enough with these runs to do anything.
Yeah, you could try to throw it up the inside into turn 1, but obviously that is going to spell probably disaster for you and the car you're battling with. I think he's going to just settle in behind. He's got all these drivers have about 3 laps to work with here as time is running down. Actually, that might be more like 2 laps here. But yeah, I still can't believe what we saw there.
Yeah, that's a huge mistake. Like we said, he was pretty much on his own. I mean, there was cars close to him, but he wasn't battling anyone for the longest time. Just overdrove it. Just big mistake to make in a spot where you really don't have to drive it too hard. Meanwhile, right now O'Keefe is now the battle for 6th is O'Keefe and Thompson. They're right on top of each other now.
Yeah, and for Jacob Toss, this is big now, considering, again, SimSport News, after Barton's really solid finish last week at Brazil, pushed the team from back in the Constructors all the way up to 2nd. They have a chance to close in the lead to MPH Racing by a lot, considering Peltomaki is now retired, and Makila is just in 3rd by himself. Toff's trying to make up some more points between himself, trying to get up into 6th. Gonna move to the inside here into 130R.
Well, they're going to be dead even in here. I doubt anyone's going to lift. Actually, O'Keefe did have to lift. Their smart driving by him to not cause a wreck there, but it's going to cost him a couple points there. Jacob Toff's in the 6th position.
The leaders have come on through. I believe we should have 2 laps to go. It's going to be just by just what? It's going to be just 2 laps to go. I don't know what I was trying to say there.
Let's just move on. Just watch the battles there. I think it is 2 to go. No white flag there.
Yeah, and Pavel Kogrecki up the road in 5th place. I think he should be good, but you gotta, as a driver, you can't back off completely because he's gonna find himself in that battle between Toffs and Keefe now for 5th place if he catches back up to him. Up ahead, nothing too much to report about Luke Barton. He actually has picked up the pace. Either that or Couture made a big mistake last lap through. Trying to bring up the comparison here. 7/10 of a second is what Barton made up last time.
Must have been a mistake somewhere from Cooter, but keep it on the track. He should be fine. I still don't. Barton needs something to happen here. He made a lot of time up, but he's still not in the slipstream. He's not going to get really anything down these straights, so he's still got the hope for something to happen here.
Yeah, I'm curious again. We were just talking about how much do you need to push as a driver, especially after seeing what happened with Peltomaki. He's retired all the way back in 15th. There's a reason to really push anymore, considering you're already in 2nd place.
Oh, Enzo's off. The guy who was in the final points position. Enzo's gone spinning. It's going to be Martinez who's going to take that final position if he's there. I don't think he's close enough. Enzo's going to get going, and he's still going to be in that final points position, but Martinez is going to be there now.
There's Januszkowski. He's actually behind still by, I want to say, 5 or 7 seconds, and so, yeah, so Heseda is going to be a bit lucky there, considering the gap between himself and Januszkowski was so big. He's going to be able to just hold on to that final spot if he can make it around another lap and a half. But for our leaders, white flag in the air for Couture and for Luke Barton. I think it's going to be too far for Barton. Going to have to probably settle for 2nd place. In behind, looking at Jacob Tops and Danny O'Keefe. Battle not completely done just yet.
Yeah, he's not close enough to get any of that slipstream. I think he'll need Toffs to make a mistake to get that position back now. Just going through the top 10. Booth is pretty much driven away from John Watson for P8. Watson now settled in P9. And Enzo looks like even after that spin, he's going to be able to still get that final point.
And we'll see again. He just has to make it around another lap just to bring the car home. He's got 7 seconds to work with over Januszkowski, who's hoping that it makes another mistake so he can pick off 1 point, make at least the round worth it. Because again, that's the tough thing with open wheel racing. The points, not everyone gets points.
Yeah, it's really, when you're back there like that, it's really tough to keep going, but you just got to stick it out. And when you're running back there, not really running with the leaders, a big finish in the points just feels absolutely outstanding. And it makes everything worth it, basically, so they just got to stick it out, get something going, and they'll be fine.
And here come our leaders working through Spoon Curve right now. Again, you can see the gap there. Barney's made up even more time, a second and a half. He's probably thinking, man, if I had another lap or two, probably could have done something with it.
Oh, geez. And meanwhile, I'm not sure what happened, but John Watson disconnected at some point. He came into the pits. I don't know what happened, but maybe he was out of fuel or something. He came into the pits and parked it, so that's going to put Martinez into the points, I believe. I don't know what was up with that.
Yeah, don't know what was up with that either, but for our leaders out of the final corner, Sam Cuteret will come across the line. He will win. Whoa! Ready to come across in style, locked up the brakes. He's a happy man. You can see him weaving the wheel back and forth. He will win at Suzuka. For Luke Barty's going to have to settle for the second spot on the podium. Rounding out that podium will be Yanni Makila for MPH Racing, and then we find Vincent Olivier Barron finishing in fourth. Pavel Okogretsky, he's coming out of the final corner now to rev out the top five. Jacob Tops, great run towards the end, up into sixth place for the 116 after starting back in ninth, and was even further back than that. Great drive for him. Danny O'Keefe in seventh place. Zach Booth, he's working through the final chicane now, will settle in for eighth. Enzo Haisada, he was able to bring the car back home in one piece. He will come back in ninth and make it to the final few corners. And Dennis Cassidy's going to be a happy man because with John Watson's retirement late in the going, he should be coming across the line in 10th here to see him coming through 130R.
Big stroke of luck for him to get that final point. And he had a good run, 18th to 10th it will be, but I think my driver day's got to be Zach Booth. 17th to 8th, that's really tough to do in these fields, and he was able to get some points out of it, so really good run for him.
Absolutely, and we'll take a quick look at our finishing results here as we have the final few drivers in the top 10 come across the line. Trying to find the graphic. There it is. And you can see Sam Cuteret, great run for him in that 28 machine. Gave up a lot of time in the end. Not sure if that was just him backing off the pace just to bring the car back home in one piece, or that was him burning off the tires, but a win is a win.
It's probably the celebration coming onto the front stretch, but a really solid drive in his debut. Obviously puts him into a great points position. If he can do that in the next race, he's going to be up there with the big boys. A really strong showing. Really good coming out party.
Yeah, really interested in seeing how the team points are going to look after next week with Sim Sports News going to make up a ton of points over their competition. MPH Racing, also for Vincent Olivier Barron for Fukumuni Racing, he is also going to bring home solid points in fourth place. So with that being said, that's going to wrap up coverage here of the Formula 3 series. Now, don't go anywhere because in a few minutes, really, we're going to hop over to go to Formula 1 qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix. So I'll stand by here. We'll start up the next stream and we'll be right back shortly. Thank you for watching.